A Chinese drone just breached the most protected airspace on Earth. What happened next could redefine modern warfare forever. Before we dive into this shocking incident, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling us, should the US respond more aggressively to these aerial intrusions? Let's get into it. Washington, D.C. airspace is a no-fly zone unlike any other on the planet. Protected by multiple layers of defense systems, radar installations, and constant fighter jet patrols, it's supposed to be impenetrable. Yet, on a clear morning, sensors detected something that shouldn't be there. A Chinese-made unmanned aerial vehicle had somehow slipped through the outer perimeter and was heading directly toward the nation's capital. The detection came from ground-based radar, stations that monitor every square inch of airspace. Within a 100-mile radius of the White House, military personnel at Joint Base Andrews immediately went into high alert mode. This wasn't a drill or a civilian aircraft that had wandered off course. The signature matched known Chinese military drone technology, specifically models that have been used for reconnaissance and surveillance operations across the Pacific. Within minutes of the initial detection, scramble orders went out to the fighter squadrons stationed at Andrews. The F-35 Lightning II, America's most advanced fifth-generation stealth fighter, was about to demonstrate why it's considered the most formidable aircraft in the sky. Two F-35s roared down the runway, their engines screaming as they climbed rapidly toward intercept altitude. The pilots had been briefed on the situation during their sprint to the aircraft. The Chinese drone was operating at approximately 15,000 feet, moving at a steady pace that suggested it was on a predetermined flight path. Intelligence analysts watching the situation unfold from secure command centers were already running through possibilities. Was this a deliberate provocation? A test of American air defense response times? Or something more sinister, like an attempt to gather electronic intelligence on the capital's defensive systems? The F-35s approached their target with stealth capabilities fully engaged. One of the most remarkable features of the Lightning II is its ability to dominate the electromagnetic spectrum. While the drone's operators might have thought they were conducting a covert mission, they had no idea they were being tracked by systems they couldn't even detect. The F-35's advanced sensors were painting a complete picture of the intruder, gathering data on its capabilities, communications frequencies, and control mechanisms. As the fighters closed in, pilots could visually confirm the target through their helmet-mounted display systems. The drone was a medium-sized craft, clearly designed for long-range operations. Its configuration suggested it carried sophisticated camera equipment and possibly signals intelligence-gathering hardware. This wasn't some hobbyist quadcopter that had accidentally drifted into restricted space. This was military-grade hardware, operating deep inside American sovereign airspace. The lead F-35 pilot established a tactical position behind and slightly above the drone. Standard intercept procedures called for visual identification and assessment before any escalatory action. Through secure communications channels, the pilot relayed detailed observations back to command. The drone showed no indication of changing course or responding to the presence of the American fighters. It continued on its programmed route, as if the F-35s weren't even there. This is where the invisible war aspect becomes truly fascinating. The F-35 wasn't just flying alongside the intruder. It was engaging in electronic warfare operations that the average person would never see or understand. Using advanced jamming systems, the American fighter began disrupting the drone's command and control links. This is 21st century combat, where battles are fought across multiple domains simultaneously. While no missiles were fired, a very real engagement was taking place in the electromagnetic spectrum. Back at command centers, cybersecurity teams were analyzing the drone's communication protocols in real time. Every signal it transmitted was being intercepted, decoded, and stored for later analysis. The intelligence value of this encounter was enormous. Understanding how Chinese military drones operate, what frequencies they use, and how their control systems function, gives American forces a critical advantage in any future conflict. This single incident would generate thousands of pages of intelligence reports. The drone began exhibiting erratic behavior as the F-35's electronic attack intensified. Its flight path became unstable, suggesting the jamming was affecting its navigation and control systems. Military planners had several options at this point. They could shoot it down, which would be perfectly legal given the airspace violation. They could continue jamming until it crashed on its own, or they could attempt to take control of it entirely through cyber means and force it to land intact. The decision was made to avoid kinetic options. Shooting down the drone over populated areas risked civilian casualties from falling debris. More importantly, capturing the drone intact would provide an intelligence windfall. Engineers could examine every component, reverse engineer its systems, and understand Chinese drone technology at a level that would take years to achieve through other intelligence methods. The F-35s maintained their escort position while ground-based systems worked to seize control. What happened over the next 30 minutes represented some of the most sophisticated cyber warfare operations ever conducted in real time. American electronic warfare specialists exploited vulnerabilities in the drone's control architecture. Chinese engineers had built-in safeguards, but nothing is truly unhackable when you have the resources and expertise of the United States military focused on the problem. Gradually, control over the drone's systems shifted from its operators to American forces. The drone began descending under guidance from US cyber operators. The F-35s followed it down, ensuring no attempts were made to regain control or initiate any self-destruct sequences. A secure military facility had been designated as the landing site, well away from civilian populations. Ground crews were already in position, ready to secure the aircraft the moment it touched down. This was a carefully choreographed operation, involving dozens of personnel across multiple agencies. As the drone made its final approach, Chinese operators were undoubtedly aware they had lost their asset. Somewhere across the Pacific, there were likely frantic attempts to re-establish communications or trigger emergency protocols. But it was too late. The drone settled onto the tarmac at a classified military installation, immediately surrounded by security personnel and technical experts. Within hours, it would be completely disassembled for analysis. The geopolitical implications of this incident are profound and multi-layered. China has been expanding its drone capabilities dramatically over the past decade. Their unmanned systems have become increasingly sophisticated, rivaling American technology in some respects. But this brazen violation of US airspace represents an escalation that cannot be ignored. It raises serious questions about Chinese intentions and the possibility of more aggressive actions in the future. Diplomatic channels between Washington and Beijing lit up in the aftermath. The Chinese government initially denied any knowledge of the drone, claiming it must have been a civilian craft that malfunctioned. But the evidence was overwhelming. The technology, the flight profile, the sophisticated systems on board, all pointed to military origins. American officials made it clear that such violations would not be tolerated and that future incidents would be met with increasingly forceful responses. The F-35's performance during this incident demonstrated exactly why the United States invested hundreds of billions of dollars in the program. Critics have long questioned whether the cost of developing and fielding the Lightning II was justified. This encounter provided a clear answer. The ability to detect, track, engage, and neutralize threats across multiple domains simultaneously is precisely what fifth-generation aircraft were designed to do. No previous generation fighter could have handled this situation with the same level of effectiveness. From a technological standpoint, the invisible war aspect of this encounter represents the future of military conflict. Traditional warfare focused on physical destruction, ships sunk, planes shot down, tanks destroyed. Modern warfare increasingly happens in domains the public never sees. Cyber attacks, electronic warfare, satellite disruption. These are the battlefields where superiority is won or lost before a single shot is ever fired. The F-35's electronic warfare capabilities gave it complete dominance over the Chinese drone without ever employing kinetic weapons. Intelligence. Analysts spent weeks examining every aspect of the captured drone. The camera systems revealed attempts to photograph sensitive government facilities. The electronic warfare suite showed capabilities to intercept communications across multiple frequencies. The navigation systems contained detailed maps of Washington, D.C. airspace, including what appeared to be planned routes to maximize intelligence collection while minimizing detection probability. This was clearly a well-planned intelligence operation that went disastrously wrong. The broader context of Chinese aerial incursions into sensitive airspace extends well beyond this single incident. Over the past several years, there has been a documented increase in probing flights near restricted zones, not just in the United States, but around allied nations in the Pacific: Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and other regional partners. have all reported increased Chinese drone and aircraft activity near their borders. This appears to be part of a systematic effort to test defenses, gather intelligence, and establish precedents for operations in disputed territories. What makes drone incursions particularly concerning is the ease with which they can be denied or attributed to technical malfunctions. Unlike manned aircraft, drones provide plausible deniability. China can claim the craft was civilian, that it malfunctioned, or that they had no knowledge of its mission. This ambiguity is deliberate, part of what military strategists call gray zone warfare. Aggressive actions that fall below the threshold of armed conflict but still advance strategic objectives. The American response to this incident sent several important messages. First, that air defense systems around Washington, D.C. are far more capable than potential adversaries might assume. The detection and tracking of the drone demonstrated that stealth and low-altitude flight profiles cannot guarantee undetected penetration. Second, that the U.S. military has options beyond simply shooting down intruders. The ability to seize control through cyber means provides escalation options that don't result in debris falling on civilian areas. Third, and perhaps most importantly, the incident demonstrated American willingness to capture and reverse engineer foreign military technology. The intelligence gained from examining the drone will inform defensive measures for years to come. Every vulnerability discovered, every capability understood, translates into countermeasures that can be deployed across the entire military. Chinese military planners now know that their drone technology has been completely compromised, forcing them to redesign systems at enormous cost. The role of the F-35 in this scenario cannot be overstated. While the cyber warfare elements captured headlines among defense analysts, the fighter's ability to maintain electronic and visual contact throughout the engagement was critical. Pilots provided real-time assessments that guided decision-making at every level. The sophisticated sensors allowed for precise identification of the drone's type, configuration, and likely mission. The stealth characteristics meant the F-35s could operate without being detected by any defensive systems the drone might have carried. Looking ahead, incidents like this one will likely become more common rather than less. As drone technology proliferates and becomes more accessible, the skies will become increasingly crowded with unmanned systems. Some will be civilian, some will be military, and some will be deliberately ambiguous. The challenge for air defense systems is distinguishing between these categories quickly enough to mount appropriate responses. The margin for error is vanishingly small when dealing with potential threats to national security. The invisible war continues every single day, though most of it never makes headlines. Cyber attacks probe government networks constantly. Satellites maneuver for advantageous positions in orbit. Electronic warfare systems test each other's capabilities across the electromagnetic spectrum. This drone incursion was simply one of the rare moments when the invisible became briefly visible before disappearing again beneath the eye. Surface of classified operations and diplomatic denials. For the pilots who flew that intercept mission, it was a career-defining moment. They executed their orders flawlessly under intense pressure, knowing that mistakes could have serious consequences. For the cyber warfare specialists who seized control of the drone, it was validation of years of training and preparation. For intelligence analysts, it was a treasure trove of information that will inform threat assessments for the foreseeable future. And for American military leadership, it was confirmation that investments in advanced technology and training continue to pay dividends. The Chinese response to losing the drone has been predictably muted in public, but likely frantic behind closed doors. Military programs that relied on the compromised technology would need immediate revision. Intelligence operations using similar drones would have to be suspended or completely redesigned. The strategic implications of having their capabilities exposed extends far beyond this single incident. It affects calculations about what can be attempted in Taiwan, the South China Sea, and other potential flashpoints. This brings us back to the fundamental question raised at the beginning. How should the United States respond to these provocations? Some argue for more aggressive responses, including shooting down intruders immediately. Others suggest the measured approach taken in this case, where intelligence gathering and demonstration of capabilities serve as both response and deterrent. There's no easy answer, but the invisible war will continue regardless of which approach is chosen. The skies above Washington, D.C. remain vigilantly protected by systems and personnel, ready to respond to any threat, Seen or unseen. Retry.